What's up, everybody? Chris and Rob of the Jersey Comic Crew here, and today we have a very special video for all of you today. As you know, Rob and I were obsessed. We love Spider-Man No Way Home. Yep. We couldn't just talk about it with just us two, so we had to bring some friends along. And guys, you're about to watch a great conversation with PTOUnlimited podcast. We did a crossover event, and it's all here, ready to go. We talk all Spider-Man No Way Home, so please enjoy.
All right, so my question to you guys, after watching Spider-Man No Way Home, for me, I cried about like a half a dozen times, went through a box of tissues.
Absolutely.
Especially, spoiler right here, Aunt May dying instead of Uncle Ben. And dealing with that shock, because I did not see that coming. How did you guys handle it? Your audience, were you all in tears? The emotional weight in the film really shocked me, and I wanted to get your take on that.
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah. Alex is the emotional one of us all.
Oh, don't even. You cried more than I did.
Maybe I did.
I looked over, you did.
Yeah.
I will say that we watched it in a sold out theater. It was packed, which is like the first time it's been like that in obviously years due to COVID. So it was nice being able to hear. So when that when the initial slice of her and you weren't really sure what happened and she fell down happened, you did hear the whole audience. But then she stood up and we're like, oh, she's fine. And then in my head, I'm like, well, that does mean that she probably will just die a bad, gruesome death later on. And then, of course, like, she ends up hiding her wound. Yeah. And then Peter finds it. And that whole moment, I feel like everybody was just, the whole theater was just silent. It was silent.
For me, for about 10 seconds, I was like, oh, did she just get plot hole armor? Like plot armor? Like,
yeah,
did she not die because of this?
Like, she stood up. She's like, let's go. Let's get out of here.
And then it happened. I was like, oh my. But the line that she said as well was
I was
like,
waiting for
oh,
it. So good.
Oh, yeah.
So good.
That's how I knew she was going to go. She was going to die completely. I was like, oh, great. She said the line. She's out.
Brett, so
guys, I need to prepare you for this conversation. I am not a fan of the MCU.
Okay.
I do not have the emotional attachment, especially to Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Okay. So when Aunt May, bit it, I was like, oh, that sucks.
I think you're the only one in the world who has that. I love it.
That's why we like having Brett on our show.
There was no reaction that I noticed in my theater. My theater was 40 to 50% full.
Okay.
But not to change the subject, but the larger reactions were when the reveals about, an hour and a half into the movie or whenever it was.
Right. Yeah. So now follow up. Who's your favorite Spider-Man? If it's not Tom Holland MCU, if you have a favorite.
It's Toby. It's by a long shot. It's Toby.
Toby for me is Toby.
Same. I love Toby as well. I grew up with Toby. That emotional tie to Toby is just uncanny. I love Tom and I like Andrew, but like it's just like I realized I was like, oh my god, like Andrew came through and I was like, yay, and then Toby came through and I was like a 13-year-old girl at a concert, screaming. But yeah, for the Aunt May thing, I thought it was absolutely weird that she just stood up, and I was kind of like, wait, I didn't see the spikes. Like I
thought she was gonna be impaled.
Right? Like I thought it was like, oh, we're going back to Spider-Man 1. Is she gonna be impaled? But she wasn't. And I was like, I didn't see the spikes or anything. Did she just get hit really hard and she took it like a linebacker? And then she said the line, which I don't know if you guys know this. That line, they changed it to match Stan Lee's original writing from the comic.
Oh,
so they added it. It was with great power, there must also be great responsibility.
Okay.
So I thought that was really cool. And once that happened, I was like, oh god, here we go. I was like, no, I'm not crying. You're crying.
That's really good.
I was interested just because you guys are seems like very into comics and know more comic aspect wise with, I was talking to them a little bit prior to getting on. I kind of wanted your view as your knowledge of the comics. So you get all these people that, for instance, Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. So people read the books and they see the movie. They say, oh, they left all this out and this plot and this and this and this. So you guys knowing more about the comics, what do you think? What are your thoughts on this movie and what they're doing with the MCU and Spider-Man right now opening the multiverse? Are they doing a good job at it?
So that was my original take when the MCU started. Like I was like, oh, they're doing like this, but it's not like this. They could have been so much better. But now that the MCU's kind of matured a little bit and it's obvious that they're taking their own direction and moving forward, they're kind of like playing not like a joke on us, but I feel like, all right, we knew all of this stuff. Now we're going into this movie having the expectations, thinking we know what's going to happen, and they change stuff. So like that's always enjoyable to feel like we're getting something new. With the multiverse and the Spider-Verse doing all this different stuff, I think they're doing a fine job. Because some of the comics are definitely very convoluted and very dense, and they're making these wild and crazy concepts more palatable for the everyday audience. So for me personally, I think they're doing a fine job.
Good.
Yeah, okay. I love it too, and a lot of comic fans hate us for this too, because comic fans are very
aggressive,
ingrained.
Yes,
and
that's why I wanted to ask.
They're very ingrained and like, no, it has to be exactly what I read and exactly what I remember. And it's like, well, if you make a movie or a TV show or anything, you can't. That's not a 1-to-1 ratio, right? Like you can't. Right. You're not going to be able to translate everything into the movie. I thought this movie, and I thought one of the best movies for Spider-Man was Into the Spider-Verse as well, the animated film.
Yeah.
Like these movies are the ones that really translate a lot of what comic fans want, but also like taking their own spin. There's a lot of stories they took from the comics. I promise I won't bore you and delve into that.
No.
But they do it really well in an aspect of like, hey, we get it, right? The movies that the MCU makes are not for specifically just comic fans. It's for the mass amount of people to get their butts in seats and make a ton of money, right? That's why this movie made some money, and that's why like, yeah, Toby, here's some money, Andrew, here's some money, Matt Murdock, Charlie.
Yes.
Oh my God,
that was cool.
I loved it.
Amazing.
But I applauded.
Oh, so did I. I'm going to say I applauded. I might have screamed, but I applauded.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, like I think the MCU way more so than like what DC's trying to get back to, I feel, is doing a great job with, appeasing a lot of the comic fans. You're not going to make everyone happy. It's impossible. But I think for me and Rob, like we mostly love a lot of this stuff. There's some movies we're kind of like, but we loved it. We absolutely thought it was fantastic.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I mean, they left out a Sinister Six in this one, and I was a little upset about that. I was like, oh man, they could have had Vulture, they could have had Venom in there.
See, but I was talking about that yesterday with you, and I think Vulture's in that same universe right now. He's just in prison.
It makes me mad, So
he's technically there.
He could have been there.
He is. And that was weird too, because not only is he in that universe, he started in that universe, and then I don't know if you guys have like seen the trailer for Morbius yet, but he's in that trailer.
Yeah.
And
they're all gonna connect.
They're all gonna connect whether we get it or not. And then also they introduced a character in the first Spider-Man, Matt Dillon. Is it Scorpion?
Yeah.
Scorpion.
So Scorpion's gonna be somehow tied. He had like the Scorpion tattoo, and I'm like, all right, we get it. But like that, it was kind of like, hey, there's kind of a door here for that. But I think they really kind of wanted to just, I guess, close that door on those previous universe villains, because there really wasn't a Tom Holland villain in this movie, if you think about it.
No. In fact, this kind of felt like, oh man, it kind of it left me a little bit.
The villain was pretty much himself, if you think about it. He was the one that created the mess. So he had to fix it.
He Tom Holland has not. This is a hot take here. Tom Holland has not held a Spider-Man movie on his own.
Yeah,
that's true.
So it's kind of like
he had Iron Man in
Iron Man in one,
right?
and two he had. I mean, he still did Iron Man stuff, but I mean, it was mainly just off of Iron Man. And then in this one, he had all of the other.
And he had Jake Gyllenhaal in the second one.
Well, Jake Gyllenhaal was supposed to be Spider-Man in 2 because of Tobey Maguire's injury.
Yeah,
he was going to get it replaced.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
That's
he actually hurt his back, right? That
that's right. Yes, the joke.
He did. And then also Jon Favreau was Daredevil's sidekick in the original Daredevil.
He was Foggy. Yeah, he was Foggy.
Yes.
With the curly hair.
Yes.
Talking to Ben Affleck in a coffee shop for like 1 scene.
So weird.
How about we just don't talk about that Daredevil?
I'm totally okay without that.
Sorry, I brought it up.
The one thing I think, the reason they didn't do the 6th person to give us that, and the kind of like the ending transitioning to the next generation, is because of that fact. Tom Holland has always had like the assist, right? He had the Iron Man suit. He had this character, this one, this crazy stuff. And now we know that we're getting another 3 movies. And now we see at the end he learned how to make his own original Spidey suit, which is just him in pajamas, right?
Oh, that's good.
It kind of feels like to me like this next set of like Spider-Man movies are going to be more like it's Peter Parker on his own, doing his own thing within his own universe, like making a name for himself aside from like, oh, Iron Man helped me, or this hero helped me, Doctor Strange helped me with this, the other Spider people helped me with this, and then maybe my personal take is like at the end of that 3 that's where he's gonna get a Sinister Six from his universe doing his own kind of stuff. Now, whether or not that deals with the Venom after credit scene of like maybe there's gonna be a new Eddie Brock in this, that's yet to be seen. But I think Marvel understands that, like, hey, Spider-Man's supposed to be the face of Marvel, but he's getting all this help. When in the comics and in the other 5 movies that we saw, he does this all solo and does an amazing job. And I think this is their time to kind of like nut up or shut up. Like, hey, Tom Holland, some people say he's the best, some people say he's not. Well, let's see how he does solo and see if he could carry those movies and carry the mantle of Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I believe he can.
That's good.
At this point, I think he can. He's, it'd be his 4th iteration. If you can't do it now, just get out.
Right.
Absolutely.
He's young enough. He's got plenty of time left in him.
He's
man.
good. And he's going to be popping up in other properties probably here and there with, all those cameo deals they do where it's like, hey, here's 3 movies and a couple whatever else we need you to show up in.
Right.
But yeah, I do think there is something to say for like, there has been a lot of help within his character. He's obviously the youngest Peter Parker we've ever seen live action by far. I think like Toby was playing an 18-year-old at like 32.
Yeah, he was definitely. I think he was in his 30s.
He was like, all right, now I gotta go pick up my kid after we shoot. But like,
I know.
Like Tom was very young. They wanted to bring him in as a quote unquote legacy character that was already established, and now he's going to be the face of a big time franchise. So that's going to be really interesting. I'm really excited about that. And overall, guys, I really enjoyed this movie. Maybe because it was nostalgic, but I did want to ask the 3 of you a question because, I asked Rob this on the show a couple days ago. I found that the story of this movie was kind of basic, right? It was a little basic. It was a little like, all right, we get it. This is happening. It was a little predictable. And maybe it's because I, have the welcome knowledge of just knowing too much about the comics or knowing or looking way too deeply into this. But even with other movies, right? You know when you see a movie, whether it's a sequel or an original movie, you're going to find certain story beats are in it. And sometimes it's like, hey, I kind of can tell where this is going. But for this film, even though it happened, I wasn't turned away from it. I found myself like, oh, I kind of can tell certain things are going to happen, but I'm okay. And I still really enjoyed myself.
Right.
I was on the same aspect of that, but I will say that when I first sat down and watched it, I want to say the first 30 to 45 minutes where they're, the whole getting into MIT and just reintroducing where we're at and things like that, where I really want to say when he goes and he sees Doctor Strange and he's talking about, I'm messing up my friends' lives by them knowing me. And then he's creating, his little time spell. Doctor Strange is like, I feel in that scene, he's just nonchalant about this whole time thing. He's like, would you just quit talking? Would you just quit? He's not taking it seriously.
Yes.
And I feel like that was, I don't know if it was meant to be like that or if that's just how it came across, because he was just, I was like, why doesn't he care about this? He's like, would you just stop talking? You're messing me up.
He did it so many times before.
I guess.
I guess, but that's just
maybe
he's done.
That's you're so used to seeing all these Easter eggs and looking for Easter eggs and hearing about these little things here.
Do you think he's Mephisto?
There's a reason why he's sitting there. Maybe he messed it up on purpose.
Mephisto, he said it.
It could be Mephisto.
He could be Mephisto.
If you look at his eyes, he seems a little.
He winked weird, I'm saying.
Yeah, he looked a little evil, but that would be digging just a little much.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
Well, the thing is,
Mephisto.
You go into the theory of how long was Nick Fury a Skrull on Earth. That was a long. That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah,
Brett never.
Brett
didn't see Captain Marvel.
That's all right. You're fine.
Yeah,
you're fine. It's not that great. But no, you find out that Nick Fury was not on Earth for a long period of time, and we don't know how long. So here's another thing: do we know if Doctor Strange is
really Doctor Strange?
Stephen Strange.
Yeah.
Right? So
that's a great question. I think it's one we've all been asking now. The Skrull hunt's on, right? We know Secret Invasion is coming out for Disney Plus. We know Nick Fury is in space with no shoes. Apparently not allowed to wear shoes in space. And now it's also what's going on? They also mentioned in the movie, Fury hasn't been on world for a year, and Fury's like, wait, what?
He's up in space.
The agent mentions it, right, when he gets arrested.
Yeah,
so he's like, well, get me Nick Fury. He's like, Fury's been in space for a year. What are you talking about? So, who was that person I just talked to? Because the second movie feeds right into the third.
Yep, that's true. That's true.
That's a question. I'm Rob is exhausted from it, but I've been on the Mephisto train for about the last 6 to 8 months.
Since Iron Man 1, he's been on Mephisto train. I can't deal with this anymore.
Brett doesn't know about Mephisto, so maybe
you
can
do
kind of
a brief
introduce...
explanation to Brett who Mephisto is.
So a real quick explanation. He's one of the kings of hell, and he's known in comics for kind of being like, you know how you see Loki in the MCU? He kind of does wheeling and dealing, messing with everybody. Mephisto does that on a much bigger scale. He'll make a deal with people to get part of your soul to do this thing you don't even know. So originally in the comic books, Peter, his identity was spilled because of Civil War, and it got put back in the bottle because he made a deal with Mephisto, and then Mephisto made him forget about all this kind of stuff. So you just think of the ultimate trickster devil doing stuff for his own deeds. Think of it like that.
Except he wants your soul and your entity. He's also in the comics kind of the cause of Wanda's children, which we saw in WandaVision. You know, the stuff in this Spider-Man movie, that's from a comic called One More Day, where Peter makes a deal to save his Aunt May's life with Mephisto, but in return, his marriage to Mary Jane Watson is nulled and no one remembers it.
So I wanted to bring that up, actually. I'm very glad that you brought that up. And the only way I knew about that deal with Spider-Man and Mephisto is that we were at a gift exchange yesterday, and in one of the gift exchange was a Marvel encyclopedia.
Big encyclopedia.
Okay.
And I flipped over to Mephisto, and right there, or no, to Spider-Man, and right there it said Mephisto's deal. And I had read it, and I had not known about that. So if you think about this last movie, if Doctor Strange is Mephisto, he technically made that deal at the end with Doctor Strange for everybody to forget about him in exchange for him and Mary Jane, not knowing each other ever again.
Life reset and everything.
So it very much meant that's the first thing that popped in my head after I watched the movie. I just so happened to read Mephisto's deal with Spider-Man yesterday, and I was like, the two just kind of clicked. They kept it pretty similar to that deal.
It kind
of did the deal
so
without the character.
Maybe Josh is right.
I would say he's not wrong yet, right? We don't have full proof.
Nope.
But I'm on that train too. And did you guys stay for the second credit scene?
Of course. Of course.
So,
basically the trailer for the Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah,
exactly.
It kind of was. It was kind of like a first look.
Yeah,
it was
a first
like
look teaser thing. Everyone's trying
really
to make their trailers popular now, but
right.
I thought it was kind of hey, this movie's the next one in the line.
Mm-hmm.
This has to be where you show him, right? If Mephisto doesn't show up in the Magic movie with Dark Realms and the Scarlet Witch and Baron Mordo and all these characters, when is he going to show up? And that Dark Strange at the end, a lot of people are saying, oh, is that the guy from What If? Might not be.
We better get a Kang in this one. Kang the Conqueror better be in this multiverse of madness.
I want 45.
We don't see him. If we don't see him, I'm gonna be mad.
I don't think it's Mephisto. The more I thought about it after we recorded our episode, I'm on your side with Kang, right? Because we introduced Kang, and Kang is a huge villain in Marvel, dealing with time, dealing with multiverses, all this different stuff. I think having Mephisto is just adding more complications where they're like, hey, we don't need to do that. We could just focus on Kang. It's a crazy enough concept as it is. And there's 12 Kangs throughout timelines. We could just deal with this and be fine. And Mephisto could come when we're 90 years old, and then we were finally right that Mephisto's in the MCU. We don't need...
He just doesn't want me to be right.
It's too well. I mean, he does have a point. That's too much too quickly. So, because we had Thanos. Thanos is gone. So now we have to move on to something else. So it's either going to be one or the other, and they're both, very high up on the pedestal. So who are they going to introduce?
Kang, because I've already introduced him in Loki. That's he's already there.
True, but
we have not seen Mephisto yet.
Are they going to continue with him though, or are they just going to push him off for now? Are they going to continue?
No, not with Loki having season 2 coming on. They have to keep going.
So maybe they're just teasing Mephisto here.
Maybe.
So it could be.
And then eventually, 3 to 5 years down the road, then they're gonna relate back to this very conversation that we're having. And we're gonna be like, we were right.
I'm gonna be like, pay me, please.
Yes. Yeah.
But no, you guys bring up a great question, and this is something I think before we just got on with you guys, Rob, and Rob was like, hey, so I'm thinking about this. Here's the play. Rob had the Charlie Day board behind him with all the pins. And so I was like, what is the next step for Marvel? Because like you said, Thanos is gone now. Mm-hmm. They're obviously going to have to move towards a massive big bad. They have some of their main core characters, right? Your Spider-Mans, your Thor's still around. And a lot of new characters are coming in through TV shows. and movies at the same time. But they've been doing a lot better, I think, now of building up villains, where you're fleshing out the villains, probably because Disney Plus is doing a lot better job with that. Instead of like, Ultron's kind of one and done, and he's just kind of like a talky, funny guy, somehow has emotional
Right.
but doesn't. So we were talking about Kang and the possibility that he is this big MCU title guy as far as movies. They're doing time travel. We know he's going to be in the next Ant-Man and the Wasp movie. And possibly in other properties, hopefully Loki season 2. I can't think how he wouldn't be.
Yep.
Right.
And then you also have people we know of. Are you guys caught up on Hawkeye before I say this?
No, we are not caught up on Hawkeye.
My God.
but I mean, are we? Is it a problem? Are we going to be watching it?
We were going to be watching, or eventually going to find out. I mean, it's not that big of a deal.
You guys
I
can
mean,
tell us.
Hawkeye's really good. Are you sure?
Yeah,
I'm not
it's
a spoiler
fine.
guy.
Oh
Rob,
my
you
I
said
don't
can't
care.
spoil.
It's
Rob, you
fine.
say.
All right.
Brett won't watch it.
Yeah, Brett's not going to watch it.
All right. So Kingpin is introduced in Hawkeye. He's confirmed.
I did know that.
Yes.
Yes.
So, like,
I did get
he's
that spoiled
the
for me.
big guy that Hawkeye has been afraid of, right? And then we got Matt Murdock in the Spider-Man movie, right? And then
Yep.
Chris brought this up to me when we were having a conversation. At the end of Spider-Man, it's Christmas time. He's swinging over Rockefeller Center, and we know the last episode of Hawkeye deals with all that. So now we're getting like, Spider-Man could come down, deal with Hawkeye, deal with Kingpin, and all this other stuff. And then you have the Kingpin as like, obviously, like the big bad of maybe it's Marvel TV of the street level crimes, and having all those universes melt together.
Now we have to watch Hawkeye.
I know we just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah. How many episodes are there right now?
5.
5, and there's
Oh,
one
okay.
more Wednesday.
That's
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
They're doing
there's
6? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so
See, I already
then,
knew. I already knew that. I already knew that.
That's
I got it spoiled for me from someone else,
Yeah,
but that was
that
fine.
Book of Boba Fett's next week, which I'm very excited
Oh.
about.
So much content in December.
Yes.
It's Hawkeye, then it's Spider-Man, then it's The Witcher, then it's the Book of Boba
Oh, The
Fett.
Witcher. We haven't even started the season 2.
I'm only
I'm
on
waiting
episode
till
2.
vacation. I'm waiting till vacation next week, and then I'm watching it.
All
Yeah.
right. So, question for you guys. We have to talk about this. I can't not talk about this. The Venom scene, right? After
Yeah,
scene,
that was next on my list.
he blips in, blips out. What are
Yeah.
your takes on Venom before we get into the
We
weird
need
stuff
help.
here?
We
Yeah,
don't
need
know.
help.
That was, my
I
take
don't-
is exactly what you said. There is a reason why he was there, and the only reason why, because I saw so many different conversations like, why is Venom there? He never knew the identity of Peter Parker. Wrong. Tobey Maguire. It's right there. He knows exactly that Venom knows Peter Parker. Therefore, everyone else will eventually have to find out. This is just how he gets into
The symbiote is attached to every other symbiote in the multiverse.
Yes.
Yeah.
So with
that's
that is basically, I thought that little symbiote blob that was left was just our teaser for the next big Spider-Man villain.
Black suit Spider-Man.
I want to see it. I gotta see it.
Now,
Black
do you
suit.
think
Again.
the Sonyverse, right, with Venom,
Yep.
maybe or maybe not Morbius, because we don't know what's going on with that because we saw Michael Keaton in that trailer.
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to stay separate or they're going to fuse together? Meaning, like, if they fuse together, we have that Eddie Brock. But if they stay separate, are we going to get a recast of Eddie Brock in the MCU? If
Do
they
we want
continue that?
another?
Tom Hardy is getting a little on the older side. You know?
True.
It's possible, but I think if you bring Venom out, you commit to that character for 10 years probably. So I think they have to do a cross without recasting. You know what I mean?
Oh.
I agree.
Because they've already had Venom introduced
already- yep.
heavily.
Yep. Mhm.
Hmm.
They have to.
But yeah, I'm not even gonna.
I
go
think it
on
was
for
just.
that.
I
That's
think
true.
it's just that they threw Eddie Brock's character this one.
I thought he would. I didn't think that he should have been blipped in and out. I thought he was gonna be in the same actual universe.
He was.
No, he wasn't. He blipped out.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
he did. That was at the end when
Best
they
way
were
not to
closing
pay for a
everything
bartender.
together.
Right.
Yeah, right. No, that was at the end when they were obviously closing the gates or whatever.
yeah.
So he blipped out and he left the symbiote.
Right.
That
My
is
problem
his-
is he blipped out. He's not in that same universe.
Yeah, he's back in the
That
Sonyverse.
was the tease. Now he's
Yeah.
back in the Sonyverse. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'm agreeing with Brett. We have to have our own brand new Venom is what I was trying to say. We're introducing that. Maybe he's going to attach onto the bartender.
Or Ned.
The guy who was like, "Why are you making fun of this? I lost my family for 5 years."
I mean, there's Ned he can attach to, and there's Flash.
Oh. I
Flash
hate
Thompson
this
was Venom.
Flash kid. I'm sorry.
I don't like him.
I
don't
hate
like
him
him
so
much.
Bring
He's
back
such
Joe Magniello with the upper
There you
boxing
go.
fighting. I'm just like, oh my god, like I went to school in the 90s. Like all these bullies like were way worse.
yeah.
And then the Flash is kind of just one of those guys in this one who's
Sort of
more of
like-
like He's like a rich kid. Yeah, he's
Yes.
just a rich
Punch his
kid.
stupid face.
So like I do think as well. I agree with you, Brett, and you, Alex, that it's gonna be a new like Eddie Brock casted for the MCU.
Okay.
I don't know how. Like, to me, it was also kind of, it was an after credit scene that was really odd. It was just, it was almost like thrown in there. Like, we gotta get the symbiote here, and all right, Sony, here's your guy back.
Yep.
I
feel like that's the way that they had to, and the only way they said, you know what, we're going to be opening the multiverse. We'll give you a lot of money if you just let us have him for one scene.
Yeah, and so he's like, of course.
That's
like,
all we need, and you can have him back after that.
You can have him back. We can't get PS5s out to anybody, so please take him and make us more money.
Right?
So, like, I just think it's going to be one of those things where, like, yeah, he's not really coming back. They just needed the symbiote. And
yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
The way he blipped back, I think it wasn't because of the multiverse. I think it was because of the box. Because the box, once you press the button, that's where everyone from the original universes went back, right?
Yeah,
Toby, Andrew, they went back into the light,
at
right?
the end, yeah.
And so I wonder now, how is that going to, are we going to get like Tom in a black suit, which we kind of saw, and it was like, oh, he turned it inside out. I was like, damn it.
That was cool.
It was awesome, but I was like, it's not the black suit.
So I didn't realize it was a suit that was turned inside out until we watched some kind of Easter egg video. I just thought it was an extra suit that wasn't finished, that had wires on.
He's like, oh, prototype. I gotta put this in.
That's what I thought it was.
Right.
I also think the biggest mystery of this movie now is how did Aunt May get the green slime off of the suit? Like, what did she do to clean the suit?
It is a what's the
How'd
word?
she get it off nanotechnology?
A motherly touch. A motherly touch is what did it.
A motherly touch. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
I want to talk about one thing that not a lot of people know about.
Sure.
Do you guys know about the rewrite at the end with Tobey Maguire?
No. What?
He was actually supposed to die.
He was supposed to die, wasn't he?
Yes.
Oh, I was
He
thinking
was meant
that
to
when I was
die.
watching the movie.
Yep, he was meant to die for being the good Spider-Man out of all of them. Like, he was meant to die for it. That's
What
why
do
he
you
got
mean by
stabbed.
the good Spider-Man?
Well, out of all of them, he's the most pure.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like, he wanted to keep Tom Holland pure. Like, he's like, killing is like, you know,
How he stopped him
like,
from killing.
Tobey Maguire's like the dad. Like, hey man, don't do this.
He's like, don't
son.
do this. You're gonna ruin yourself.
Like,
here,
I've been
right?
there,
Yeah.
kid. Don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he's like, don't do it. You know, you meant to do something good, and then he gets stabbed. They rewrote it that he lived, and then it was the comical joke of, oh man, I've been stabbed lots of times. You know, all
Yeah.
that stuff. It's like that was a
Yeah.
killing blow. You felt
So
it.
I will say that I was a little disappointed that he wasn't gonna die.
I'm not, and I am at the same time. I'm like,
because
okay,
we don't
live,
need him
but
back.
whatever.
I mean, it was nice to have Toby back, but we don't need to have him back. I think
Sure,
that's
right.
we don't. I think
do you
I-
want an
we don't
Amazing Spider-Man 3?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, see, that's one of the things we were talking about. Like, Andrew Garfield, like, he comes in and, like,
He didn't get his third.
he never got his third. He got kind of the redemption by saving MJ. And, like,
Yeah.
you forgot all about his charm until he's dealing with everybody. You're like, maybe.
And he
maybe I
talked
do
about
need
it
another
too.
one.
Yeah. He talked about the trauma, saying like, and I was never the same. I didn't stop pulling my punches. I was like, I want to see that Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Like,
I want
wanna
to see that
the-
Andrew Garfield.
the emotional, like, kind of like the Batman style of Spider-Man. Like, what we're gonna get with this new Batman movie is like the emotion side, like the actual dark emotion. That is what Andrew Garfield is about.
And finally, a detective story.
Yeah,
well, yeah,
something
Batman.
maybe similar to that too.
But yeah, no, I think that's a big question with Andrew. And I found myself, I liked Andrew a lot more in this film than even some of the stuff they did in his own films.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's just with writing and not necessarily Andrew's fault. I'll admit, I cried hard when he caught Zendaya.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
At that
Yes.
moment
Oh, yes.
of like
Yeah,
clarity
Brett
of
doesn't
like,
understand that.
but like it also was different. So obviously in the second movie, he tries to thwip and save her. In this
Yep.
one, it's almost like you could tell he's been kind of studying that moment over and over again because he jumps and uses his body and catches her, and it was a whole different scenario. But
Yeah.
I found I liked Andrew so much in this film with kind of his quirky, awkward background of like, oh, I suck, you know, and there was like,
Yeah.
oh, great, like when
You're
you're
great. You're amazing.
You're amazing.
You're
No, you are
literally
actually
amazing.
literally.
My
So
thing
I
with
was-
having a third movie, like, as much as I want it, it's great. But, like, whatever villain or whatever cast you get to round out that movie, it's almost like a death sequence because, like, you
It
think
is.
as, like, an actor, like, oh, I'm going to be in a Spider-Man movie. That's amazing. Like, I'm going to keep doing more and more, especially, like, with the MCU. Like, oh,
Right.
I'm going to be, let's say, Shocker, Venom, whatever they get for that third movie. And they're like, oh, it's just for this movie, not
One
in
and
the
done.
MCU. You're done.
Yep.
That's it. And it's kind of like, oh, what if the fans really like that? Do we get him in the other universe? And it's like, this whole will they won't they have the multiverse as much as like it's great.
Right.
It kind of spoils us. It's like, oh, but you can have him in this too. Oh, you can have him in this too. So it's kind of like
maybe they do a TV series,
or maybe they introduce
movie.
Kraven and then he just hops timelines.
He did get casted. So Sony is making a Kraven the Hunter movie.
And this movie was supposed to be a Kraven movie.
Yeah,
originally.
If the multiverse didn't like get written well, they had as a backup for Kraven. Yeah. That's
so I'm excited to see kind of Tom in the future. I as much as I would love to see kind of Andrew get his final movie from Sony, which I think would be a lot better money spent than kind of some of the other Spider-Man extended stuff they're just throwing money at. I think it's tough with, trying to make Tom your Spider-Man and propel him forward and be like, listen, you're Spider-Man. That was one of the questions with this movie too. Like, how is it going to balance? Is Tobey and Andrew going to come in and steal the spotlight from him? Is it going to be early in the film, in the middle of the film, like Act 2 to 3? So I thought they did a good job of pacing the film, even though it's like a 2.5 hour film. It kind of flows. It does move. But yeah, I think it's kind of like Andrew's done. He'll come back for cameos. Maybe. I don't think we're going to get another Andrew movie.
Well, you do have to also consider the fact that Tom Holland has said he wants to take a break from acting.
Yep.
So what does that mean going forward? When I read something today that Spider-Man 4 is already in pre-production. So Tom may just not get his break like he wants.
I don't think Tom realizes how the movie world works.
He knows he's
you
got
can take a break when you're 50.
When you're hot, right?
Right.
Well, I mean, Hemsworth did it, I think, 2 years ago, like after Extraction or something. He was like, I'm going to take 1 year off before he was starting Thor 4, which will be out next year too. So I guess if he times it well enough, but he's doing Uncharted. He's doing like some of the indie films. The Russo brothers, I think, have another deal with him for another one of their movies. Yeah. So it's a great question. And Tom, can't walk out his door without being mauled. So it's going to be an interesting kind of time period to see, especially like you said, they're doing pre-production of another Spider-Man film already. How is he going to kind of take this break that he wants? I also already wanted to like start a family and do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of hard in Hollywood when you're, also away from home 3 months at a time filming and being wired up.
Yeah.
Right.
So we'll see. But yeah, guys, anything else you guys wanted to mention?
What's your take on Hobgoblin?
Oh, Willem Dafoe. Oh my God. He got his second chance and he did so good.
The scene where he is fighting Peter in Happy's No Longer condo.
Yep.
I thought best decision they made was taking the mask off.
Yes.
And just letting him do his thing.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
And when he is just fighting Peter, first of all, it's brutal. Like, you're like, oh my God, you almost forget that serum also like makes him kind of a super soldier.
800 times more powerful.
Unreal. And then so when Peter's just slamming him in the face and he's just got
he's
that,
just laughing and just looks like the Joker.
So
at that point. Yeah.
So good.
Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Loved it.
I gotta admit, I 1000% forgot that he has super strength, even though I read him in the comics like every day and watch all this stuff.
Because he's on the glider 24/7.
Yeah, and then I see him like throwing through a building. I was like, when did this old man get this strength? What's happening? I'm like, oh,
the serum.
And he dropped the "I'm something of a scientist myself" line / meme.
Yeah, that was cool.
That
Phenomenal.
Was cool.
Spider-Man point meme. So happy about that.
Meme.
The point meme. I was happy they did that. I was like, if they don't do that and they're in this movie, I'm gonna be really sad. And they did. I was like, yes.
And also the fantastic, awkward situation of talking about Tobey's organic webbing.
Oh.
Yes.
I love
Yes.
it. Does that come out
So good.
Just your
And even like they like kind of move on, but Andrew's still kind of staring at it for a minute. He's just like, I just don't get it. Like, it's gross.
It's like I have to make it in a lab. It's kind of time consuming. It's a pain in the butt.
So far, favorite villain portrayed. Which one is it?
Ooh.
As far as everyone who came back,
Everyone at all, and all. How many have there been?
Spideyverse.
8 Spider-Mans.
it's for me, hands down, it's Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin. I don't think you could beat him as far as not only the caliber of actor that he is, but that performance. Like he kind of reinvented that like talking to myself performance.
Yeah.
And the way he did it, and the way you could tell, like not necessarily by the music, but you could tell based on his facial expression that, oh no, that's Goblin, that's not Norman anymore. I thought he came back with a vengeance with that character, and obviously like Doc Ock was fantastic.
That's such a hard question. Oh my God. I'm playing all the movies in my head like quadruple speed right now, and I think it has to be Doc Ock, and I just like the beast inside, like he's not in control, and like you can kind of see the madness take over him in the Spider-Man 2, and even in this, like when he's like trapped and then he gets freed, like the quiet's gone, right? Like the sense of euphoria that he get, and that beginning and opening chapter you get with Doc Ock, he's like, hey, he's not really a bad guy, he just got poisoned in his mind, and you see that fully fleshed out in this, which, you know, this was a great homage piece to all the past Spider villains we get. For me, it's kind of hard not to say that because just the range. I mean, yeah, Green Goblin is fantastic and all, but like, you know what you're gonna get with Green Goblin. Like, you're gonna get the craziness and the evilness. I think just seeing the range on somebody with Doc Ock is why I give it him.
Right on.
Brett?
Right, you got.
Yeah, I would say Doc Ock as well, but more for what he was in 2004 when Spider-Man 2 came out. I don't think you'd really seen anything like that before, and it was pretty incredible.
And him coming back and portraying himself again, it's like he never left.
Right.
You know?
He looked good. Everybody looked good.
Everybody looked amazing.
Willem Dafoe, I don't know if he really ages all that.
No, right? He's been like 60 for like 42
He looks younger
years.
now than he did in 2002. Or
like, he looks like he was in Boondock Saints. Like, it's
right? I can't wait for the third one, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, favorite villain.
Yeah.
Mine would be Doc Ock for sure. And
really, over Goblin.
It's a going off of what they were saying.
Yeah.
Made me switch my mind.
Right.
So, and then hearing what Brett said was pretty much exactly what my answer is. It's just seeing him, like nothing had ever really been done like that with a villain before back in, what was that, 04?
02.
Or 2? Yeah. 04.
Well, it filmed in 03, so.
Well, either way, we just not seen anything like that.
04.
And then that villain to me, when I watched the original Spider-Mans, or our Spider-Mans is what I like to call them, our Spider-Mans, he's my favorite villain from then. So, and the fact that they brought him back and he looks like he never left. Like, yeah, he looks great. The same personality. I mean, they got it to a T. Like, it's just as if he just blipped right there. Right?
Did he never said brilliant but lazy?
He didn't.
I would have loved
Said,
that
I'm
line.
trying to do better, though. He does ask
he did.
Toby. Toby says, trying to do better.
That was great. That was absolutely great.
At least they got a meeting together and got to have like a conversation, Toby and Doc Ock on screen.
I had one more comic, possibly related question for you.
What's up?
When Spider-Man was, when Doctor Strange pushes him, like his soul or whatever, his the out of body thing, and he was able to control his arms. Do you guys know anything from the comics that would explain that?
The only thing I could think of, because I know Chris knows the answer, and we haven't talked about this yet, so I'm gonna say my dumb answer. He's gonna correct me.
when I sip water and turn that thing, I have to correct.
The only thing I could think of was that his body was acting involuntary, like that was just his spidey sense, and his body was like just pure reflexes and moving, and that's why it looked like he was controlling it. And like his body was just moving to keep things away because it was in like I have no idea.
I heard him say like, "Oh, I love this feeling. Like it's like I've never felt anything like this before." So it's just I know it. They don't put things in a movie unless they want you to see it. They want you to look into it. So I thought that was like a big thing that they just kind of.
Well, he's learning his spidey sense.
I know.
Sense too.
I know.
Like
they talked about the tingle the whole movie. I get it.
Yeah, he's relearning it, and it's definitely to do with his spidey sense. In all of Tom's movies, right, the first was kind of just like the Peter tingle, and that was like the ongoing joke.
Oh, yeah.
And then in Infinity War, you see him on the bus, and like the hair on his arms stands up. Mm-hmm. So they were kind of figuring out how are they going to do it. So when he gets pushed into that astral plane, that power is still residing in his body, and he's like, oh, this feels great. I don't know if you were able to see, but if you look at that shot, there's like these little wavy lines, almost like.
Oh, really?
Because in the comic, every time Spider-Sense happens, he gets the wavy lines.
The little
around his
waves,
head.
yeah.
Yeah, or if you play the PlayStation 4 game, like you see that popping up. So in the movie, they kind of like subtly added kind of like these brain waves or astral projecting, and you're able to kind of see it because if you look behind him, there's like a building, and the window looks like it's a little curvy.
We're gonna have to look at that.
I gotta rewatch this movie.
Yeah,
Question.
so that is definitely spider sense related, and regaining that spider sense from kind of the pain and stuff he went through with Mysterio, where he caught the gun and he didn't see him, and kind of the powers were starting to heighten. So I think he's like heightening his spider sense percent.
Have you seen Doctor Strange?
No, and I do have a comment.
So that's why you don't know what the hell is happening here.
So I have not seen the Doctor Strange, but I have seen Infinity War and Endgame. And just real quick, my take on this whole movie being a casual at best MCU fan. I was bored for the first hour and a half until Toby and Andrew got there.
Oh, wow.
I enjoyed the rest of it, but the whole time I'm thinking, this is all Doctor Strange's fault. You know, this whole thing is his problem. And then I'm watching the post-credits, trailer, and somebody says, you're the biggest threat to the universe. I'm thinking, I was thinking that this is his fault.
Bro, it's like I didn't even have to watch the movie to figure that out.
You're not wrong. I mean,
he
it
stood
is all
up in the
his
theater.
fault.
It's like, I could have told you all of this from the beginning. Like, you were definitely not wrong. And he is one of the reasons why Strange is kind of this great character in the comics and in the movies as well. I think Benedict Cumberbatch is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
With that attitude and just that monotone way
love
about
him.
him. But yeah, there was something weird about how nonchalant he was in the beginning. And, Marvel does this a lot. They throw in a joke.
Yep.
Or kind of a lighthearted moment to kind of lessen the weight of what's going on. And sometimes I think to kind of distract you from what's going on behind the scenes.
This is kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal, right? And he throws it in like, hey, did you call and fight for yourself to get into MIT before doing this? And everyone's like, haha, great. And I'm like, okay, like, granted, but like the real issue here is that you're just like, yeah, let's just do the spell. Right?
And he contained it. He's like, and it's just sitting there like, that thing can just go at any moment.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be the adult in the situation. What are we doing?
Right.
I'm telling you, he did it on purpose. There's a reason.
So there's a reason, whether it's, like we were possibly saying with Mephisto Train, woo-woo, and, this evil Strange, this multiverse that's out there, what if had an evil Strange in it? He's kind of this chaos, magical person, and now he's going to be combining with Wanda in the next film. So it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Wait a minute. What if the Doctor Strange we saw in this one is the evil Doctor Strange at the end with the goatee that grows longer?
Now you're going off the rails.
I'm telling you. And our Doctor Strange is doing some nonsense out in the multiverse because that's what he'd be doing.
He's still stuck in the math webbing of the.
We don't know when this next movie takes place, do we?
It takes place after WandaVision.
Yeah, it's definitely.
I know, but where is that in our timeline
Right after
of this
Endgame.
movie?
Right after
Of this
Endgame.
movie. So,
Endgame.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, I have a question. I don't know if this was answered. You guys are like huge on this. Where are the stones? Like, when did they get destroyed? Because I don't remember them getting destroyed at Endgame. The glove doesn't destroy it. Where are they at?
They are back. From what we know, the stones.
Oh, they're back at their spots.
They're back at their sources when Cap took them back through time, and then was also like, "Hey, I'm finally gonna get that dance. I'm out."
Okay. If you believe that, I don't know where they are. I think that's a lie.
I think he put them back. But Strange mentioned something.
Why
in this
does he not
movie,
have the stone? Because he's the
like
bad
the
guy.
Time stone. He should have the time stone.
He
Yeah.
should have the time stone.
That's why
and
we
he
saw
said
the
they were
bad guy.
atomized. Something like that. He said like, "Oh, the stones have been atomized. I don't have the stone anymore. They've been atomized." Something like that.
Yeah, I said that
You're
in
stirring
Infinity.
some shit up.
Yeah, man. Some kind of question
absolutely.
here. I don't know where they're at. They said the
It's a
stones are
great
gone.
question.
Why are they gone? Like, I didn't think that they would be like completely gone. Like, you could go back and get them. Like, Doctor Strange has that ability, right? I mean,
He should. He's
Yeah.
Doctor Strange.
he should have that time stone.
But he doesn't for some reason. Maybe they were destroyed.
Maybe it's just because of at the beginning of Endgame they say, of course, Thanos destroys them, and then they go back in time, of course, and then they put them back in their specific spot. So if they're picking up from that, that's fine. I get it.
That original timeline. Per
Yeah,
se.
yeah.
I think the stones are still in play, and we're going to see them down the line. I think somebody's
I hope we
secretly
don't.
collecting them and doing it.
You don't want them.
I don't want them
really
either,
don't.
but like, why have we not seen? We should at least see a scene of like, they're gone. Everybody stop questioning about the stones. We need that confirmation, I think.
There's
Right.
so many great villains in Marvel that are also relatable to like regular movie villains. Like, you watch Seven, like stuff like that. Like, there's so many great villains in Marvel. We don't need the I think they did the stones. The stones were great. Thanos was great. But you have like a whole universe of villains, not even talking about that, but like X-Men is coming in, and Fantastic Four. I think Doctor Doom's the greatest villain in Marvel history. But, and who knows if they're going to do Galactus now with Eternals and all this other stuff. So
I hope so.
you have so many villains to go through that don't need the Infinity Stones.
True.
I'm okay personally with the stones kind of just being like, hey, the book's done on the stones. We're going to
I get that. That's good. That'd be a
Or
good
maybe
thing
we'll just
because
get
they can
the
write something
answer
better.
in Multiverse of Madness.
We might actually because
Yeah,
it's a multiverse.
Maybe they'll just we're talking about
forward.
this now. Somebody's going to be watching this episode that's magically from that creator standpoint. They're gonna be like, they're onto something. They know it. They know it.
Sam Raimi's
Like,
doing
yeah, we gotta check
multiverse,
this
right?
Yeah, he is.
It's gonna be scary. It's gonna be good and scary, maybe.
Well, Multiverse of Madness is like written as a horror film, so it's going to be intense.
I can't wait.
You know, and overseas there are different ways of how they, you know, movies go. Like Harry Potter is a horror movie in England. Like it's straight horror. There's like an age discrepancy there for Harry Potter movies. Here, obviously, not so much because you know we're exposed to everything.
We're savage.
We really are.
Yeah, I guess.
So like with Multiverse of Madness, it's going to be interesting to see with all these different markets how deep they go into the horror, and if like a Mephisto or a devil character comes up, there's certain countries that like we're like, nope, not doing any like depictions.
Can we get Agatha again?
Well, she's getting her own show. So,
I love Agatha.
I think she's going to show up too eventually. If Wanda's involved, I think she's going to show up now, and she's getting her own show, so that'll be interesting too.
Yeah. Brett doesn't know who Agatha is, but it was her all along. I'm just saying.
Yes, it was her all along. That's all you need to know.
That song was stuck in my head for like a month.
Brett, she's just a sassy, spooky lady that like taught Wanda to be even cooler. That's all you need to know. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's really actually it.
And she might be related to working for Mephisto. That's the Mephisto train. That's why there's an actual train.
Yeah.
Because of, who's she working for?
It's so connected. It's all like the quacks like a duck stuff with Mephisto. So I'm really waiting on that. But yeah, guys, anything else about the movie?
Rating.
I know you guys have to do another episode on your own.
Yeah.
I want your guys' rating on a scale 1 to 10 for you guys for this movie.
Come on, Rob.
All right. I'm terrible at this because like whenever I watch a movie, I have like I don't know about you guys, but I have like a movie high. Like the first day or two, I'm like, this movie's the best movie in the world. I said that about Justice League, and then a week later, I'm like, this movie's trash. What did we?
Did you like the Snyder Cut though? At least.
I like the Snyder Cut. Yeah, I still enjoy the movies, even if they're not like the best movies.
What are you saying, Brett?
What?
I thought you said something.
I laughed because that was funny.
Okay.
But overall, I mean, it's kind of hard for me not to give this a 9 or a 10. Like the pure nostalgia in this, and the fact that I've watched every MCU thing out there made me connect so much more to all this kind of stuff, and the fact that I read the stories. I definitely understand, like someone like Brett, like if you ever watched all this stuff and consume it, I definitely could see how this movie, definitely in the beginning could be boring and not as high rated. But for me, with my ultra biased opinion, I'm giving it a 9.
Yeah.
I
10 if Toby died.
Okay.
Yeah, 10 if Toby died.
If Toby died, yeah, that would have been Jesus. I would have been inconsolable for a week. I gotta agree with Rob on this one. I'm around a 9 too, and the reason is I think when I go to a Spider-Man film, like Spider-Man's my favorite Marvel character of all time.
Okay.
I have more Spider-Man comics as far as Marvel than any other Marvel character, and those Toby films at the age I was at, like 10, 11, were so like integral to not only just the fandom but the movie making genre of superhero movie.
Yeah.
And I think I haven't felt the way I felt about a Spider-Man movie since those Toby movies until this movie. Now, is that because he came back? I don't know. I found myself getting emotional just hearing his theme song in this film, like in like stupid stuff, right? He cures Sandman, who like we didn't talk about Sandman because there's really nothing to talk about Sandman.
Right.
And he cures Sandman. He does the reverse whoop-de-doo thing, but then it stops and like his theme song plays, and I was like, oh, I wasn't ready for that. Like stuff like that. So I think the hurt, the good, the bad, and facts of life stuff, but it all tied into how I felt originally seeing those Toby movies. So that's why I really love it.
Okay.
You guys?
Brett?
For just the straight nostalgia and Toby's presence, I'll go 7.
Yeah. That's a good number for you.
Yeah, I think
that's a
very
good for
fair.
him. Brett's our sourpuss.
Alex,
Oh, Chris is my sourpuss.
You got to have a strict
Sourpuss.
grader. There are
That's
rules.
why
It's
it's
a society.
great. I like having Brett on the show because Josh and I can agree on so much, and the Brett will be over here.
I don't kiss Disney's butt by a far.
Good.
Oh, I'm
You
kissing her
shouldn't. You
butt all
shouldn't.
day. Call me Disney anytime you want.
I
I'll
also
on the
don't
red
kiss
carpet anywhere.
any of the butts of Disney.
Alex, what's yours?
9.9,
Really? You give it almost a perfect.
almost perfect.
Is this your perfect Spider-Man?
Yes.
Yeah?
It's the only reason why the first one is going to be just under my perfect Spider-Man only is because it's
Our movie.
our movie.
Yeah. We saw the first movie together as our first date. So that's why
wow.
it's very. Spider-Man has been in our relationship.
We still have our
4
original
years.
movie ticket from 02.
We
That's
do.
awesome.
Aw.
We do.
Yeah,
So
I do that
this
too.
was a
My
good
girlfriend, we
wrap-up.
keep all of our movie tickets stuff.
Do it. It's adorable.
Yeah.
Mine was Romeo and Juliet, and we still love that movie. And I'm like, I don't know why. That's our first date movie.
Love it. I'm giving this a 9. It's practically perfect. There's just a few little things here and there that I have an issue with. It's got some cheesy moments that I don't like. It's got some rewrite moments that I was like, okay, Andrew seemed a little too over emotional, but then I got it. I understood why he was that way. I can see how Brett wouldn't like Andrew Garfield's character because of how he's a completely polar opposite from Tom Holland. Yeah. I mean, he's a confident Peter Parker.
And Toby.
I mean, Toby's got he had a
I think they all have their own.
Toby was a douche in the third one, so you can kind of, I mean, you can see
it. How cool was that sassy walk, though?
Dancing.
My issue, okay, I want to. My issue with Toby in the third one, the one thing I had an issue with, he was the dumbest guy on the planet. Yeah. The dumbest guy on the planet. Even when he didn't have the black suit, he was the dumbest guy on the planet. He kissed Gwen while he was with Mary Jane. The Spider-Man kiss. He is literally the dumbest man on the planet.
Yeah. And he is a man. You know?
We're dumb. That's fact.
He wasn't using his Spidey sense at that time.
No, he wasn't.
Not the right one. That's
not the right one.
Definitely felt a Peter tingle. That's why he did it. You know?
Yes, he did. Yes, he
there
did.
You
he
go.
felt that tingle. I love this movie. It was great.
Yes, I love it.
Now, is this your guys' favorite of all the Spider-Man films?
It's gotta be.
I'd say so, yeah.
2.
He likes 2 a lot.
2.
Spider-Man 2 is phenomenal.
Here's an even better question. Is this your favorite Marvel movie?
Oh, no.
I think Infinity War or Endgame still is up there for me.
Yeah.
Because of how
it's hard to say right now because
was.
if like we talk about, we're really big fans of like of Independence Day, and we talk about how when it's just one of those movies that when it's on TV, like when they show movies on TV, and you're just walking in the living room and you're like, doesn't matter what scene it's at, you sit down, you finish it.
Yep.
Is Bill Pullman talking? We're gonna go watch.
Yeah. So with that, I feel like this movie would definitely be on there, but I think there's been multiple times where Josh has had Endgame on or Infinity War, and I've walked in and it'd be the action scene at the end where they're fighting. I'm like, all right, I got to sit down.
Yeah.
So it's got to be in the top 3 at least.
Real close. Yes.
So because I don't have that connection with it because it's not on my TV yet.
Yeah. Right. We got to wait another couple months, but yeah, no.
Like, this is the scene where Andrew comes in. Be quiet.
They're gonna flip at each other. They're gonna flip.
That was so good. Okay, yeah, I want to say Ned's Nana, that whole thing. I was like, okay, come on, get her out. I don't want her in this. I want to enjoy my Spider-Man like coming in.
Yeah, like, it was funny the first time, and then they did it again where she like, okay, but now we know she speaks English. Yeah, and they went back and did the joke again.
I loved it. I didn't care. I was down for that all the time.
The second time it went on so long, and then Ned was like, "Oh, she wants you to put that back."
I know. Obviously, like Josh said, like you would give it a near perfect score, but there's just these tiny little things like that would bring it down a tiny bit.
Yeah, there's always tiny stuff. It's up there for me. I think Into the Spider-Verse is ridiculously amazing. I
gotta watch it again.
It's so good. It might be the perfect comic book movie. And I think that's something you can only do with animation in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
But Spider-Man 1 and 2 for me are also just kind of unbeatable. Action with 2, story with 1.
So you're saying 1 and 2 are still better than this for you, Chris?
I think this is better than Spider-Man 1.
Okay.
2 would be tough. 2 is tough. 2 is so good.
It is, yeah.
Melina's so good. That whole story's good, but I love this, and maybe because it's just newer, because I just saw it a couple days ago.
Yeah, movie high.
Like you were saying, the movie high.
Yeah,
exactly. So, but yeah, this is top notch.
I had a quick thing about Amazing Spider-Man 3 and how they could do it, because you know how Electro was saying he was hoping he would be black. We get Miles.
Yeah, we just get Miles. There you go.
In Amazing Spider-Man 3.
Wasn't there a reference to a black Spider-Man?
Yeah,
that's what he said. He's just like, he pulled off his hood or his mask.
Get Miles Morales in Amazing Spider-Man 3. That's how you write him in.
That would be cool.
And that'd be the only way they could do it. That'd be the only reason to do it.
If Marvel isn't trying to do something with Sony in the future already, because again, Tom Holland is young and he also looks 15.
Yeah.
But Miles, he was also referenced in I think Spider-Man Homecoming. Donald Glover he webbed Donald Glover to a car, and he's like, hey, I don't want crime here. I have a cousin that lives here. And he calls him and he's like, hey, Miles, I'm not going to make it because he's webbed to his car.
Forgot about that.
So there's 2 references. So we'll see. I can see Miles down the line. You could do team ups, right? Like who wouldn't want to see Peter and Miles together?
Oh, yeah.
What if Miles, now that no one knows who Peter Parker exists, what if Miles becomes that like one friend Peter can be around because they're both spiders?
And you could
I don't know the story.
You could also have Miles. So Miles is from another universe, and then the universes collide, and then they all like on the one world. But the idea of having Miles and Peter, it kind of can work, even though like you have the main one, Peter, as Spider-Man. But you could have Miles, like, there's this like young Avengers team that's being built up in like the background, like, and like you seeing like young Ironheart's gonna be coming in. You seeing Kate Bishop, Hawkeye. We're getting Miss Marvel. You're getting all these young characters, and then building like that kind of team. You could easily have Miles Morales down the road be introduced, team up with Peter, but really he's the Spider-Man of the young Avengers team, and then you have our Peter Parker with the Avengers. You could definitely have that parallel, but I don't see that happening for a couple years.
I'm gonna say it'd be a while.
Okay,
Yeah, I think it'd be a while too.
That's fair. All right, that's all I have.
Do you guys have anything for us?
Good movie. It was a good movie.
No, I think we're gonna wrap up.
Yeah, it was a great movie. Definitely, guys, let everybody know where they can find you on all the platforms and stuff like that. Give them a shout.
That'd be you.
That's me. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search PTOUnlimited, PTOUnlimited_podcast on Instagram. We also have a YouTube channel. That's where we're going to be going live tonight. We're live almost every Monday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our podcast. Show goes on for about an hour and a half. We discuss a lot of nerdy topics, 90s nostalgia. Tonight we will be talking a little bit more about Spider-Man. We also talk about sports and stuff like that. So we're kind of like a mixed meld of everything.
We just talk about what we want to talk about.
Yep.
Nice. Awesome, guys.
Awesome.
And thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us on. I enjoyed this a lot.
This was a
I love
blast.
talking it.
Guys, thank you so much for watching that video. We really hope you enjoyed our conversation. That crossover episode was so much fun. We enjoyed talking about all these kind of movies with all kinds of people. And make sure you guys check out their channels as well. All the links are going to be down in the description below. And let us know if you want to see more of this kind of content.
And guys, thanks so much for watching again. Give us a thumbs up, like, really helps the channel out a lot. If you're new, subscribe, turn on notifications. We do videos like this and other things all the time. And if you missed any, make sure to check them here on the channel. And as always, I'm Chris Heller. That's Rob Moran. We're the Jersey Comic Crew. And we'll see you next time.